Welcome to 28.5 Women's Basketball, where we explore a unique and authentic perspective on the women's game, break down upcoming matchups, and discuss the latest news and trends in women's basketball. We are your hosts. I'm Sydney Story, and I played basketball at the University of Tennessee under Pat Summitt.
And I'm Becca Goodman, and I played at the University of Notre Dame under Muffet McGraw. And we're thrilled to have you join us today. Before we jump in, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoy what you hear, be sure to tune in each week and don't forget to follow, download, and listen to give an assist and share the love. Now let's get started with today's episode. Hey, Sid, how's it going?
Hey, going well. How are you, Becca?
It's good. It's good. It's the end of our first week of women's basketball. What'd you think of it?
Oh, there were some upsets already, which happens, I feel like, in our game quite a bit, especially early on when teams are trying to get a feel for rosters, who they're starting, who their go-to players are, who's their defensive stopper, all that good stuff. I mean, a lot to figure out still, but there were some juicy ones, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think it's crazy that we're already here. We're already at this point in time. And now that first week is really just to see what sticks and doesn't, right? You're throwing it at the wall. You're seeing what you have to change. You go back to the drawing board. And for us to have such intense and like big time matchups week one, I think it's really impressive.
I think so too. I always give kudos to the coaches that schedule tough first game matchups. I mean, it's easy to schedule some of those easier teams and get your team loose, get them out there, get the jitters out. But when you've got to wake up day one, game one, and play a top 10 team or a top 25 team, that's a tough putt to get started with the season. So it's early. There were some upsets here, but I think some of these teams have plenty of time to bounce back if they want to. Okay, let's get started with today's episode and what we're going to cover in quarter number one. We're going to cover those first week upsets. Quarter number two, early season drama. We've got a couple things to highlight already. Quarter number three, a preview of the champs and good wins. And then quarter number four is upcoming matchups to look forward to this week. So we've got a full 4 quarters, and let's get started.
Awesome. So jumping into that first quarter, as we mentioned, sprinkled a little bit of a teaser out there, but we had some first week upsets. So the first one we're going to talk about is the then number 9 NC State upset at the time, number 8 Tennessee by a score of 80-77. Now, look, we know Tennessee likes to run and gun, 5 in, 5 out, constantly switching players up, which is why I think this win for NC State was even more impressive. They didn't have a bench like that. They didn't have probably the quality of players, but what I think Wes Moore did a really good job of is at times when they needed to get a bucket, you visibly saw him requesting the girls to slow down because Tennessee run and gun, shoot a 3. And at times, if you let a team that is used to doing that get in a rhythm, whether they make 1 or 20, a shooter's going to shoot. They're going to want to see it go through the hoop. So I think both teams at different times had some big leads, right? The Vols were up 10 at one point. On the flip side, NC State got up 8. These teams really delivered a great top 10 matchup. Relatively even stat-wise, except with the exception of 2 areas that after I jump into some stat leaders, I'm going to pass it over to you, Sid, for sure your feedback and thoughts. I do want to highlight NC State's leaders were the Vanderbilt transfer, Camille Pierre, who finished with a double-double, big-time double-double of 21 points and 14 rebounds. An awesome outing for her. Jones, who we know from last year, she had 9 of her 18 points in the fourth quarter, including those 2 free throws with 1.9 seconds left to put NC State up 3. Tilda Trigger also added 19 points and 8 rebounds. And then on the flip side, Tennessee, Talasia Cooper finished with 23 points and 11 boards. Shout out to the freshman, Jada Civil, for Tennessee, who played 13 minutes, had 13 points and 4 boards in her Lady Vol debut. A lot of pressure coming in, probably didn't play as much as she wanted. But as a freshman at Tennessee with a new, they have what? How many girls? 15 that can play and run in and out. So to get 13 minutes, you made the most of them without a doubt. So now going back to those 2 stats that were, as I mentioned, they were pretty much lined one here, one there. But the 2 that really highlighted and stood out to me, Sid, and I want to get your feedback, one was the free throws. NC State, they shot 21 and they made 15 for 71%, while Tennessee only shot 14 and made 8. So that's 57% from the free throw line. All in all, if that was a 1 for 2 or a 2 for 4, that's an okay. But I think the amount of free throws, obviously NC State had more. You definitely want to get back to the drawing board, focus in there, get those easy points off the board. But then also the foul count. NC State only had 10, while Tennessee had 23 fouls. So Sid, want to pass that over to you, get your feedback, thoughts on the game, and then hit on those two areas. If there is something there, or if it's just that's the way the whistle was blowing.
Yeah, I think NC State really came out and knew Tennessee's style. I thought that was pretty evident throughout the entire game. You could tell that they had a strategy to try to slow Tennessee down in any way that they could. And it shows in the overall score, right? Tennessee only puts up 80 points. A ton of games last year, even against really good opponents, Tennessee would be scoring in the 90s. So that makes a difference here, right? When it's a tight game and it's 80-77. I'm not overly disappointed in Tennessee. I do think NC State's a really good team. It's early in the season. Again, I'll mention it, like we played somebody, and I think that matters. And it's 9 versus 8 here. So it went down to the wire. I think down the stretch, if I think about the very end of the game, we needed to get stops and really we're trading buckets. And it speaks to our defense a little bit and the maturity there. And I just thought we didn't have anyone really step up on the defensive end and get that stop that we needed several times, really. And you mentioned the lead changes and all of that, which was very evident. I mean, there were some deep runs in this game, which you see in good women's college basketball. I mean, runs really matter here. If you look at the first half, and speaking of runs, Tennessee went on a 15-1 run partway through the first quarter into the second quarter. And at that point, I was like, oh, wow, we're starting to play our style a little bit. We looked like we were making NC State play fast to a fault. And then NC State really came back and in that second half really kind of flipped the table a little bit. And we talk about a lot as coaches, like halftime adjustments are huge. How you start that second half can really dictate how the game ends. And I just really thought for most of the second half, NC State, it looked like they had the upper hand a little bit. And again, early in the season here, I'm not saying Tennessee's not going to rebound and whatnot. I just think from our end, we need more scorers that are consistently going to show up. You mentioned Talasia Cooper. She comes out, really was the only standout player for Tennessee, I thought. She had those 23 points. She had 11 rebounds. I mean, she just was all over it for us, but we needed more. We needed more folks stepping up, putting the ball through the hoop, getting buckets. I mean, she had 17 of our 27 points at halftime. So that's not really a Tennessee Kim Caldwell team. Usually you've got a lot of players that are contributing more on the offensive end. I thought that was a big difference, right? We only had 3 players that were in double digits. I thought Z Spearman really needed to step up more. She's a veteran. And to not have scoring from her was a big deal. I mean, she had 3 points. She went 1 for 8 from the field goal. I just thought she looked off a little bit. We need her, right? We need her to step up. She's playing solid minutes. She played 30 minutes out of the 40. And for a Tennessee player right now, that's a lot of minutes. Mm-hmm. So I just think we need more girls that are ready to play and they don't take nights off. I mean, yeah, you have an off shooting night, but then you gotta figure it out. You got to figure out how to get the ball through the hoop. Maybe it's getting to the free throw line. She didn't do that, right? She was 1 for 2. Again, speaking about free throws. So it's early. I just think we need more players that are going to step up. And again, defensively, like I would love to see a game where it's like, wow, we got that stop when we needed to get that stop down the stretch. That was a problem last year. It's pretty early. So we'll see how it goes. But it was a good game all in all. Like it was an entertaining game. It was good basketball. It made me excited for this season. I'm excited to see what Tennessee can do, what NC State can do. I think NC State's a pretty good team here. But again, it's really early.
Very early. Week 1, matter of fact. Week one of how many? So I couldn't agree more. I did see, right, Tennessee's free throw or 3-point field goal percentage was like 9 for 33. So you know that's expected with Tennessee. They're going to shoot a lot of 3-pointers, and I just think they were a bit off, right? 27 to 29% is not terrible for an individual or a team, but like when everybody's shooting shots and it seems like everybody's maybe 1 for 5, that doesn't really add up to a lot. So, but yeah, again, super early.
super early on. It'll be interesting to see. It was noticeable early on, and it was called out by the commentators, right, that he wasn't really going to his bench, and they're not really that deep. And I think that in a long season like this, where you've got to stay healthy, you've got to have fresh legs come tournament time, might be a little concerning for the Wolfpack. They only had 5 bench points. I mean, really, it was their 5 starters that won that game for sure. So not very deep, in my opinion, on NC State side.
Yeah, completely agree. And as we know, knocking on wood for NC State, they were a bit injury prone last year as well. So definitely want to see a great team like that be able to have different levers they can pull from, folks to come in, contribute differently. And again, as we say, it's still early. Who knows if somebody will be able to fill that gap. So I think we dissected that one pretty good. Let's jump to one of our other upsets. At the time, number 16 Baylor upset at the time number 7 Duke by a score of 58-52. Now, this game was played in Paris, which that's pretty cool. And also, this is a super low scoring game, which we would have thought would have been in Duke's favor, right? We know Duke is very defense focused. They've always kind of struggled on the offensive end, which you would have hoped year over year. Guys, look, they are totally working on it. It's not something Kara Lawson isn't aware of. It's just actually getting those players to produce for you day in and day out in a high tempo game. So again, the only player for Duke that had double figures was Toby Fournier, and she finished with a double-double of 16 points and 10 boards. Sid, the score at the end of the third quarter was tied at 43. So a whole quarter goes by, and the winner of this game scores 15 points in that fourth quarter, and the loser scores 9. I mean, that's super low-scoring game. Just, all in all, we could say it was a defensive battle, right? We could high level that. There's definitely some folks that stood out for great reasons, right? So Baylor's Talia Scott took over. She put up 6 points back to back to back. She later made 4 straight free throws when Duke was fighting back to get close. And Duke, again, only played 7 players. So we have another team with a short bench. And they weren't able to consistently produce on the offensive end. Other than Toby Fournier, folks were contributing 7 points, 6 points. They had one with 9. But again, it's hard when you don't have individuals who are also in at least double digits consistently. Duke shot 62% from the free throw line. Again, when you look at the number 8 for 13, it doesn't look terrible. But when you lose by 6, it then stings a little because these are free after all. And Baylor shot 75% from the free throw line, 15 for 20. Duke was also out rebounded by 11. So, again, early jitters, early situation, trying to see how your team reacts and how they bounce back. I don't doubt Kara Lawson and team are all over this. But again, I hope it's not the fact that Duke has another struggle of a year trying to get offense going. And also, how great for Baylor. We haven't really talked about Baylor. They haven't been really back on the map. So to get this upset against an at the time number 7, that's pretty good. That's a highlight for them. I'm going to be definitely interested to watch them going forward.
Absolutely. I think a lot of good points there. Always interesting to look at that box score. I think it does tell a true story of the game. And I mean, you mentioned it, right? And we've been mentioning it all along. Duke actually played somebody. So you're risking that out the gate. You're going to learn a lot out the gate. No matter you win or lose against a good team, like you're going to learn a lot. So a good game overall. I think to your point, it's kind of exciting to see Baylor in the top 25 again. They've got a strong fan base down there in Waco, Texas, and they've been a big part of the women's game overall, especially when Kim Mulkey was there. So it's good to have other teams that can step up and knock down top 10 teams, especially for the parity in our game. And we talked about it in the last episode. I'm hoping that Kara Lawson can turn the corner here. And a big thing that was missing last year was the offensive presence and the consistency. You have Toby Fournier, who's came in as one of the best players in the country, and Jackson, who's just a really good scorer overall. I mean, they've got some of these offensive weapons, but they have to really put it together. You can't show up against a top 25 team and only score 52 points. I just think high level, great defense. You held the other team to 58, but you've got to figure out how to convert. if you're getting steals, you're getting stops, how are you coming down on the other end and converting to buckets? And I just think you didn't see a ton of that. I almost think it's like watching Kara Lawson's teams. It's like, just let them check up and play a little bit. Like if they could play a little bit more looser on the offensive end, I don't know. Like I'm not truly an expert there, but I just feel like they're a little bit methodical, and I would love to see some of those girls have the green light a little bit more just to go out and play. Like if you step back and ask yourself, hey, we're not going to run any sets. We're just going to run straight motion offenses against this other team. I'd be curious to see what that final score would have been. Like, I just think sometimes, I'm not knocking Kara Lawson. She's a hell of a coach, way better than me, obviously. But sometimes, like, as coaches, we try to control a little bit too much of the narrative. We try to force offenses in different possessions, but you've got playmakers. Let them go to work. And I think that needs to come out this year, especially because some of those offensive players are more mature players now. They've played in her system. They've got the experience now. They played several games. Like, let them go. Let the reins loose and let them play the game. And I think that's missing a little bit here. It'll be interesting. I know we mentioned it 5 times already. It's very early here. It'll be interesting to see how they can evolve on the offensive end.
Also, I just want to note, right, Toby Fournier has been kind of the go-to the last couple of years. And again, this is week 1. No, we're not looking to the future here, but she's obviously a threat. She's only a sophomore. My idea of the way this world is with this wild transfer portal and NIL, unfortunately, you have to have in the back of your mind at what point is her time at Duke, or maybe she look elsewhere, right? Just because there's other opportunities where she could contribute on a team that's actually going the distance. You know, obviously she has probably some allegiance to Duke. That was her pick, her choice. This her second year. It's still so early, but you can't help but in the way the world is right now in women's college basketball to think about NIL and transfer portal depending on how a team does. Yep.
Great points there, Becca. I couldn't agree more. I'm excited overall, right? We highlighted 2 upsets here from week 1. I'm hoping there's a ton more. Last year, there were just a ton. That's what makes this game fun. You never know who's going to come out on top. You've got to come out and play that full 40 minutes on both ends of the floor. And that's what makes this super exciting when there are those upsets that happen.
Yeah, it's almost like our first quarter could be just locked in at this week's upsets or something.
That's right.
we might have that going forward.
Absolutely. Let's head right into quarter number 2 here. We've got some drama already happening in the season. I hate to highlight injury as drama, but it's a big piece of our game. We've got Juju Watkins out right now, who's injured for USC. We've got Chloe Kitts out right now for the season, who's injured from South Carolina. One injury that hopefully is not a season ender. It sounds like she's going to be coming back, but did miss the season opener, and that's Sienna Betts. So she's a freshman this year for UCLA, and she is the younger sister of the Bruin star Lauren Betts. So she injured her lower left leg in a scrimmage in mid-October, and so we're watching this one. I think it's exciting if she does come back. I think we're all excited to see what younger Sienna Betts can do, just because Lauren is so dominant in the game, and Sienna apparently is really darn good too. So to be able to watch her play on the college stage is going to be fun. So we're wishing her the best and hoping she can come back and have a full recovery there.
I just want to say it is very cool to have 2 sisters playing college ball. I was able to play a year with my sister in high school. But imagine you and your sister, you and your brother, like being on a college team, whether it's on the male or female side, but just being somewhere college-wise at some point of your life at the same time. I think that'd be really awesome. Not only for you to have a sibling there to bounce ideas off of or tell you to get your butt in gear, but for your family. So how cool is that for those Betts sisters to be able to both go to UCLA and play together? So definitely hope she gets better, bounces back, and they come in and they're a sister force.
Yeah, that's going to be super fun to watch for sure. We don't have a ton of those in our game. Like, it's rare. So I'm hoping that works out. The next thing we want to highlight is drama, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen this, at least if you follow women's basketball. There was some Tennessee Lady Vol drama, and unfortunately, Ruby Whitehorn was charged for her second arrest since August and was let go from the team. And We'll get into a little bit of the details. I don't want to knock her. I think it's a tough situation here, but obviously there are team rules, and when you're a Lady Vol, you've got to abide by those, and you've got to wear that jersey with pride. And Ruby just wasn't doing that, right? So I think that's fair to call out. Kim Caldwell, I think she makes the right decision here. You have to really set the precedent that you can't be doing these things off the court. And I think that's a no-brainer, really. So Ruby dismissed from the team. She was charged with simple possession of marijuana after a traffic stop that happened early in Knoxville at 4:31 a.m. So very early. It was just hours after she scored 18 points in the Lady Vols exhibition win over Columbus State. So Whitehorn, obviously, us Lady Vol fans and women's basketball fans who follow the game, Whitehorn was a good scoring presence for us. We're going to miss her presence. I think we missed it, to be honest, in the opener against NC State. I thought we needed her scoring, so it's really a bummer here to see her go. But again, this was her second arrest since August. She was charged with aggravated burglary and domestic assault in the first arrest, so really not good here. And she did plead guilty in September to 2 misdemeanors, was put on probation, then obviously getting pulled over with marijuana in possession is not great there. So she's no longer a Lady Vol, which is a bummer, but some drama for sure.
Yeah, I think this is really tough. Again, in the way the world is, NIL, money, kids this age, I think it's hard, one, to hold kids to a standard and an expectation. So I commend Kim Caldwell for that. I think that's awesome that she took a stance and just mentioned, this is not the standard that we want to have here. So props to her. I also think this is kind of where your foggy glasses can turn on if you're an athlete in this position to where you maybe feel a little invincible. I'm not saying that's what happened, but again, right? NIL, I worry about that with like football players. You hear about all these football players making crazy money, getting cars. So I do just want to note, Ruby was nominated on the preseason watch list for the Myers Drysdale Award, which is the nation's top shooting guard. I also just want to read what she posted on her social media because I think she's trying to take accountability there. So I'm going to give her grace because everybody deserves that. She mentioned, to my coaches and teammates, I appreciate the support on and off the court. I have failed to uphold the standards of the Lady Vol legacy and what it represents. And for that, I apologize. To the Lady Vol community and fans, your support and encouragement will forever be appreciated. With everything that has occurred this year, I've decided to take some time so that I can focus on my healing and bettering myself mentally. She goes on to thank family and friends and everybody. But again, I think it's really big that she came out, made a statement, mentioned it, and said she failed to uphold those standards. So props to her for kind of owning it, without a doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. And props to Kim Caldwell. I thought she handled it really well. I think it's a continuation off of Pat Summitt and the bar she set at Tennessee and what's expected there. And I'm proud of Kim Caldwell to uphold that standard. And unfortunately, Ruby is no longer with us as a Lady Vol, but we wish her the best. And the Lady Vol's got to bounce back and find some scoring here.
Okay, jumping into that third quarter. We're going to highlight the preview of the champs and just some overall good wins. Obviously, we know the number one team, UConn, they played at the time 20 ranked Louisville. Beat them pretty convincingly. Final score was 79-66, but this game kind of blew up, got closer, blew up, got closer. I'm just going to say, oh man, UConn is scary good this year. I thought Halloween was over, but something absolutely terrifying is how good Sarah Strong is. Not only is she's only a sophomore. They won the national championship last year. This girl went in the gym and said she got better. I think the piece that she really added to her game was her handles. This girl is now taking people off the dribble from the wing. She's making moves, getting to the rim. Not only is she taking people off the drive, but she's also at times bringing the ball up the floor and distributing in transition. I think she only got better and will continue to dominate this year. But I'm going to tell you, what I love about her, and it's really hard for me to say this, right? We're celebrating this UConn team, and it's hard to swallow, but afterward, they played this game and they got a trophy because this was for at the Naval Base Alumni Hall. But you could tell Sarah Strong was like mad. She wasn't like happy go lucky, like we just won. And that's the scary part about a good player. You can put up a double, but if you still don't feel like you played well, it's going to show, right? You're going to know I didn't play well. And what I think the reason is after the game, Gino was getting interviewed by the game day crew, and Gino said she had a horrible game. Sure, she scored points, but she also gave up just as much. So he was on her throughout that game for her defense. So can you only imagine putting up a double-double, Gino on you for your lack of defense, because he cares on both sides of the floor. That's his area. That's his focus. And being kind of upset after the game. So that's why I think she's even going to get better, and it's kind of scary. At one point, UConn was up by as much as 28 and they dominated in every category on the stat sheet. Scoring leaders were, of course, Strong with 21, Fudd had 20. Heckle, who was that transfer from USC, they call her K9. We talked about her in our first season. She fit in super nice with 14 points, just playing over half the game. I thought as a guard, she came in and it was seamless. But you know who didn't seem so seamless to me? Was Sarah Williams, who we also highlighted coming over from Wisconsin. I think she had some silly mistakes, silly turnovers. She just looked like someone that was trying to still figure out the rhythm of the game and how to gel with this UConn team. So right, game one, lots to go, a lot of pressure. You're at UConn. Maybe there's some nerves there. I don't have a ton to say about Louisville, and I feel very bad about that. But I think Jeff Walz has been trying to rebuild and redefine his team since Van Liff left, going into the 2023 season. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just they're trying to find some key players that will stick and really shape that program. I do just want to add, I find it a fun fact that he has 4 international players. He went out and picked up, these players are from Istanbul, Turkey, Coffs Harbour, Australia, Kiev, Ukraine, and Herlev, Denmark, which I think is super cool when coaches go abroad. It just gives a different skill set and style of play. Last thing I'm going to say, one of those players that was from abroad, Ziegler, who's from Denmark, was actually the leading scorer and had a double-double for Louisville with 16 points and 18 rebounds.
Yeah, dang.
Pretty amazing.
Solid. Yeah, for me, gosh, UConn, I texted you. I look back at what I texted you, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think UConn's going to lose a game this year. Yeah. I mean, that's how good they looked. Obviously, it's early. We mentioned that, I don't know, 6 or 7 times now. But they really have the weapons. And to your point, Sarah Strong is so good. I think we mentioned it last episode. Does she get Player of the Year? Wow, her first outing, she definitely looked like the Player of the Year to me. I mean, she is that good, and UConn's that good. And if they're a true Gino UConn team, they're only going to get better. They're going to get tested here out of conference. It's going to be a ton of fun to watch them. I'm hoping that there's a team that can really play them neck and neck here. I think it'll happen, but it's going to be hard to beat UConn. I just think that they're going to dominate this year. And I hope for our sake that they don't just go undefeated, which Gino's done it before, because it's more exciting when there's other teams in the mix and you hit the Final Four time and anyone can win it. And honestly, right now, UConn is looking really good. And to your point, there's some players here that went to work in the offseason, which we're not surprised by. Like, those players get better. So we'll see. I think Louisville, they've had a couple rough seasons, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, they've fallen off a little bit from some of those Jeff Walz standards and teams that were really good. So they played obviously a really tough team in UConn. So I'm not saying Louisville's like horrible this year, but they've got to go to the drawing board a little bit if they're going to want to compete with some of these teams that are top caliber like a UConn. So I don't know. I just it's tough for me to say it, but they're kind of in a league of their own right now. UConn is.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. They just look better and better. And it is game one. Again, I agree with you with Jeff Walls. They're playing the number one team, returning champs. Basically, they lost Paige, but it didn't even feel like it. That's
Right.
what's crazy. That's how you know UConn's really good. You can lose your star player, and it still doesn't feel like
Yeah,
they
didn't miss a
lost
beat.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah, and they really ended last season. They peaked at the right time because they had a few bumps and bruises along the regular season, and then tournament time came around, Final Four came around, and UConn just like owned it. And I just feel like they're on that same trajectory, and they didn't step down at all from last year. So that's an interesting one. I'm hoping somebody can knock them off, but that's going to be tough to do. So, but we'll see. I'm rooting for those other teams at this point.
Yeah, I mean, when you have the number one team that's so dominant and already looks it early, it's always good to get a bit of parity with, even if they mess up one time, like get a win on them. Plus, it's UConn, right? So we love them, we hate them, but we wish them the best.
That's right. I hear you. All right, Beck, let's jump into the next game, which actually is an upset in and of itself. We didn't highlight it earlier, but it is an upset. USC, number 16 at the time, knocking off number 8, NC State. And boy, was this a barn burner of a game. By far, in my opinion, one of the better games played in week 1. It was from start to finish a great basketball game. Both teams, I thought, came ready to play. I thought USC came out firing a lot of 3-pointers to kind of start the game and then settled in a little bit. And NC State, I just really think they have exceptional guard play, and that came through tonight. And it just was an all-around great game. If we look at the box score and some of the stats that are worth highlighting, I mentioned it, USC came out just bombing threes. They were 7 for 26 from the 3-point line. To start the game, though, they were like 0 for 6 before finally London Jones, and we remember her from last year. She's a transfer from UCLA. She finally opened it up for him and drilled a 3 there. And really, London had an awesome game all around and is going to be one of those big players for USC, I think, this year, because we mentioned it, right? They're going to be looking for some scoring with Juju being out. And I thought she really, really stepped up. She comes off the bench, right? She's the first man off the bench, but really she had 19 points and really was a highlight for USC there. Speaking of USC, and I want to make sure we highlight this, their freshman, Jazzy Davidson, is just phenomenal. So she comes in, she was the number 1 overall in her recruit class out of high school. She won the Player of the Year 4 times, all 4 years at Oregon, in the state of Oregon, which is just amazing to think about. I mean, she's one of those next generational players, and it was fun to watch her play. A little bit of a slower first half, but man, did she show up in that second half and was key for USC to stay in the game, because really in that third quarter, there was a time when I was like, man, is NC State going to put this thing away? They went on a deep run, but that freshman, she came back, and really USC in general came back, and they withstood that big punch and hung close. And then towards the end there, were able to put it away. But really, when we talk about this game, I think turnovers was something that was worth calling out. So total turnovers for USC, only 7. And we say 10 is a good goal, right, within the game. So to have 7 turnovers and that's it, that's taking care of the basketball, in my opinion. Whereas NC State had 18 turnovers. So you think about it, if they would have taken care of the ball a little bit, especially down the stretch in that fourth quarter, that could have made a huge difference. They should have probably won this game by 8 to 10 points when you think about it that way. But taking care of the ball is huge. It comes with some of that maturity. They have the guards to do it. It's early in the season. We've mentioned it, 8 or 9 times now. But I really think that was a difference in how USC was able to hang in the game a little bit. If you look at the rebounding margin, NC State really kind of dominated the boards a little bit. They had 54 total boards versus 40 from USC. But man, all in all, this game was a back and forth battle. And I'm excited to watch both these teams play. We've mentioned it. Lindsay Gottlieb, had to go to work a little bit in the offseason here, and she's a great play caller. I'm going to turn it over to you, and you can walk through your thoughts on the game, and then if you want to hit the final stretch and how that play calling was just exceptional from Lindsay, and I think that was probably the biggest difference at the end there.
Overall, high level, this game was wild. I agree. NC State just seemed more composed to me the whole time. Pierre, who's from Vandy was insane. I mean, this girl's averaging more rebounds than points. She finished with 10 points, 18 boards, just an overall beast. I think what's going to haunt Zoe Brooks at the end of the game, even though she's a phenomenal player, she's a point guard, she's the go-to. At one point, she was scoring back-to-back buckets, and I saw they highlighted the coach on the sideline. It wasn't Wes Moore, it was one of the assistants. She just turned and goes, "Can anybody guard her? Who can guard her?" Because she's playing with just that confidence. So she finished with 24 points, 11 boards. That's a guard coming in and rebounding 11 times. It's pretty legit. But I will say, that point guard position, you have a lot of heat on you. She had 6 turnovers, and I just think that is going to be something that she's going to take with her out of week 1. This is only week 1. She's putting up double-doubles, and she's going to fine-tune this and really use it to springboard going forward. For USC, again, you mentioned London Jones. I think she was the piece they needed. We kind of gave USC a little heat in the beginning of our last episode, mentioning how, without Juju, what do they have? That Jazzy Davidson's the real deal. Kennedy Smith is a returning starter. I had a quiet game today. But you mentioned just the play call of Lindsay Gottlieb and how efficient she was with her timeouts, what play she wanted, when they hit shots, running a little Princeton offense there to make sure they open the floor, spread it. They were able to take people off the drive, hit and knock down wide open threes, have the defense of NC State really over-rotate and work. And I just think NC State just this has been a monster week for them, right? Like they just beat the number 8 Tennessee, and now they're playing number 16 USC. And USC, you could almost overlook them, but I feel like they really came to play today. But there was that one out of bounds play where I think it was Jones took it out, and Pierre was wide open on the block, posting up. And she called a timeout because I think she just, the defenders in front of her jumping around. It's a high pressure situation. And that would have been the play. I think that would have given them a nice one-on-one in the post, a solo ISO option to just go to work. They called a timeout, try to run another play for her, and that's when they turn it over at the end of the game, and it was a wrap. So tough lessons to learn, but it's something that's only going to make them better. I do like the fact that NC State went into their bench a bit more, right? They had 3 people coming in, Quigley contributing almost 10 points, 4 boards. That's going to help them down the stretch. And all in all, I'm impressed to see both these teams just continuing to play and get better. Week 1, Sid. This is week 1. How wild.
I know, it's great. It's so great. You mentioned it's such a tough stretch here to start the season for NC State. And yes, they lose yesterday, and it's an upset. But wow, I think there's a lot of promise in this team, and they're going to learn a ton from their first 3 games. And there's a lot of teams in the country that can't really say that. So it's going to be interesting to see how they sharpen their tool set coming out of the first week and a half of season. All in all, I think NC State's going to be a team that's going to be there down the stretch. I mean, they've made Final Fours recently. They're not a team to sleep on by any means. I think this upset doesn't really mean a ton. It was a well-played basketball game for anyone who watched it.
Couldn't agree more. I think it's going to be, I just hope everybody stays healthy for NC State. I'm not trying to plague anything. I just really want them to stay healthy so they can keep growing and getting better.
Yeah. And one thing that I thought was kind of cool about this game is they had Dee Kantner as the rules official, getting called in, which I thought was kind of cool for our game. We haven't seen that in the women's game, where if there's a tight call and a good game, they're going to somebody who, man, she reffed for decades, right? So they're going to somebody who really knows the game from the officiating standpoint. And I thought that's kind of cool. I'm excited to see more of that this season.
I like the fact that she completely was like, I don't understand that last time change, that there was no time change. And again, maybe it was because they got bad information from the desk.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of crazy. It's going to be on the fly. And I mean, Dee is responsible for all the refs anyway. So I'm sure there's going to be a follow-up, maybe a check-in, see what happened there. What did you see?
So we're going to get to learn from the best, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. All right, let's jump into our 4th quarter, our last quarter, where we're going to talk about some upcoming matchups for week 2. Obviously, we're going to highlight the rankings as where they were at the time. We know they change Monday, but this episode drops Monday. So we're going to hit them now so we can touch base on them. First one is going to be tonight at 10:30 Eastern. Number 3, UCLA is going to play number 6, Oklahoma. Super excited about this game to see UCLA in action. Obviously, the little Betts will not be playing, but you have Lauren Betts and Kiki Rice and everybody coming back there going against Reagan Beers and Oklahoma basically just reloading with the talent from the guards perspective. So excited to see how they match up. I think there's a lot of similarities between these two teams where it could be a good head-to-head one-on-one at each position.
Yeah, for sure. Looking forward to that one. And speaking of UCLA, they're going to turn around and play again Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern against UNC, who's ranked number 11 coming into this week. So they're playing back-to-back top 25 matchup games. That's going to be a tough go at it this week, but I think they can handle it. I mean, they were one of the best teams. They were undefeated through a lot of last season. Again, we're looking forward to watching Lauren Betts and Kiki Rice, and I think this is going to be a good overall matchup. I don't know a ton about UNC, right? They graduated some folks last year, so I'm excited to watch UNC to learn a little bit more about their team, but this is going to be for sure a good matchup.
Next up is Saturday, the 15th at 4 p.m. Eastern. Number 13, Michigan, is going to take on number 15, Notre Dame. This game was recently added to the schedule. Excited to see Notre Dame get a challenge. Kind of had some easier games, as a lot of teams do. It's either, I feel like from a college perspective, you're either scheduling some easy bunnies or you're the UCLA's, NC States, and you're going top-ranked teams only. Excited to see Notre Dame get some competition, see how they adjust, and how they just overall get challenged. Michigan, I think we're also looking to see who they have coming back, how they play, and just, there's a lot of Notre Dame alumni. Natalie Achanawa is one of the assistant coaches at Michigan. And then obviously you have Notre Dame with 2 to 3 players on staff as it is. So going to be exciting.
Yeah, we talked about Michigan quite a bit last year, and they had a freshman class last year that was absolutely insane. Now they're coming in and they're sophomores. They've got a whole year under their belt. Silas Swords is just a phenomenal guard. And so is Olivia Olson, right? So it's going to be really interesting to see how Notre Dame matches up there. I'm excited for that. I think Notre Dame's going to have to come ready to play because I do think Michigan's a little deep right now. Looking at their roster, right? It's early. It's hard to tell. But I think that's going to be a really good matchup, especially early here in the season. All right, let's jump to our next one to highlight here. We want to hit the South Carolina Gamecocks. They're currently number 2 in the country. They're going to play USC. Again, USC just coming off that monster win against NC State. This one is going to be played on Saturday, also November 15th at 9 p.m. And I just think this is going to be a really good game. It's a good, tough matchup for South Carolina. Some folks would say it's USC versus USC, but we know that most folks would say the real USC is out there in California. So it'll be an interesting one. South Carolina, I'm so looking forward to see how they play. Obviously, they're down a couple folks. We mentioned that with Chloe Kitts being out. That's a big one for them. And we talk a lot about South Carolina, right, and how they build their post play and how their post play is a big piece of their game. You think about a lot of the folks that have graduated from there. Some of the best post players in our game in the WNBA come from South Carolina. So with Chloe Kitts being out, I'm curious to see who steps up in that post spot and how they run that offense. If they have to change things up without it, we'll see. Like, I'm just kind of curious to watch that personally.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the interesting part is South Carolina doesn't have that dominant post, but kind of USC doesn't either. So it's going to be an interesting just inside play. What happens in the paint? Do they keep it spread just so they have motion and flashes?
Right. It's an interesting one.
For sure. I think it's going to be a completely different South Carolina USC matchup than we're used to. So jumping to the last game we wanted to highlight for this week is going to be Sunday, the 16th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Number 9 at the time, NC State's going to take on number 17, TCU. NC State is just reloading with these games. We highlighted this before. They had 2 top 25 ranking games, and now they're playing number 17, TCU, who has Olivia Miles, who we know transferred from Notre Dame. They've had a couple games. She's running point. She's making no-look passes. She's making it look easy. I think she'll have a bit more of a challenge from the NC State guards, but also NC State's going to put up their own numbers. So it's going to be, I think this is going to be extremely guard heavy, this game. which honestly I think kind of there's other than a UCLA Oklahoma, I'm struggling to find like dominant post play or
Right.
like guard post entry stuff. And they even said in the NC State game when they lost to USC that NC State was struggling to get the ball inside. And Pierre is one that can handle that post up. She's a bigger body guard. So
Yep.
I think this is going to be a great one. Definitely looking forward to it.
It's going to be another packed week here for week number 2. Excited.
Hey, Sid, I have one more thing. I didn't know if you knew this rule change, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it.
Oh, the jersey tuck. Not having to do it.
Oh my, I can't stand it.
I don't like it either. It looks so sloppy.
And like of all the things in the game that you could change or edit or make better, we go from tucking in looking like clean to like untucking. And the fact that it's now not a rule, I feel like everyone is like, I'm living on the edge and untucking. And I'm just like, I can't stand it. I can't stand it.
I don't like it either. It doesn't look like a basketball uniform to me. It looks like you were in the locker room, threw it on and just ran out there without taking the time to tuck it in. It's just that little attention to detail, right? Like it just looks sloppy.
Back in our day, we would, we weren't about the short shorts. We were more like put +2 on the bottom. So these girls now, they like them shorter, more defined. It's your prerogative. But they also roll them up. And now with this untucked shirt, it just, if it starts looking like, high school volleyball days where you just have spandex and a big t-shirt on, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to lose my mind, Sid.
I'm with you. I don't like it. We're old school, maybe. Call us old school. I don't care. I just think it looks so much better and put together when you tuck your jersey in. So
I agree. I'm glad we're on the same page there. Whew.
Yeah. Let's hope this doesn't trickle down into the high school game even. I'm not down for that. So
no, 1000% agree.
All right. What an episode. We appreciate everyone for tuning in, and we're going to try to drop an episode every Monday. So stay tuned for next week's episode. And once again, we appreciate every single one of you.
Reach out to us on our social medias if you have any questions, or maybe we'll put a poll up for this whole tuck in jersey thing and see if people are for or against it. Just something fun and interactive to do. But thanks for listening, everybody. And always good to chat, Sid.
Talk to you soon, Beck.
That's the 28.5 final buzzer for today's episode. Don't forget to hit follow and download on your preferred podcast platform to catch every play-by-play. New episodes drop each week throughout the season.
If you've enjoyed our courtside chat, drop us a review or follow us on our social media accounts where you can send us questions that may be selected for our Team Huddle Q&A episodes. And remember, from females who have played the game, the size of the ball matters.